Would Senator Dilan continue to yield?
Senator Dilan, do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator Libous.
Because of the late state budget, Senator, DOT has awarded over $1 billion in work. Your bill does not include the traditional shares or splits between Long Island, New York City, the Hudson Valley, or upstate. Since there are no regional allocations in your bill that is on the floor today, are you leaving this up to the executive to decide which road and bridge projects are going to be accomplished?
The DOT did come out with a schedule, I believe it was in March of this year, which outlined all the projects throughout the state of New York for a 2-year program.
Would he continue to yield, Mr. President?
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Dilan,
Yes.
you will continue to yield, Senator Libous.
Senator Dilan, are you familiar with the program as it pertained to the shares program that we've had for transportation in this state for the last probably 20, 25 years?
I believe I understand what you're saying in terms of how you've done it in the past. And I know that we have been trying to accommodate that, Senator. However, in view of the economic times and the MTA being an authority and having a capital review board which deals with their budget, and I, through our leadership, trying to negotiate equity between DOT, MTA, and trying to do this at the same time, we're at very difficult times and under the circumstances, and also, as I indicated earlier, I tried to hold out to the very last second, but at the urging of the industry and all the contractors throughout the state of New York, if we continue to hold out on this budget, there would be no contracts let after April 1st. Up to this point, and this is our, 12th extender, since April 1, not one single contract has been let by DOT by virtue of passing this current budget appropriation, and at the urging of the industry, we would not even be able to spend the money that was allocated for this year. So for the sake of getting some contracts let and saving thousands of jobs for New York State, this is the appropriation we have at this time.
Senator Libous.
President, would he continue to yield, please?
Senator Dilan, will you continue to
Yes,
yield?
sir.
Senator Dilan, are you aware that you had veto power over that MTA plan, and you, as chairman of the committee and your conference and being in the majority, could actually veto that plan and then implemented a plan that would be fair to all New York State, that would have the appropriate splits for the road and bridge plan? Are you aware of that, sir?
If I were chair of the committee, I'm very well aware of it, but I'm not chair or the representative for the Senate on the Capital Review Board.
Senator Libous, Senator Libous.
Mr. Chairman, would he yield to another question?
Senator Dilan, will you
Yes, sir.
continue?
Senator Dilan, do you have a member of your conference on that board?
Yes.
Would continue to yield?
Senator Dilan, you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator Dilan, would possibly a member of your conference that sat on that board, would he be willing to maybe stand up for the rest of New York State, and could he have vetoed that plan and then done a fair plan that would be an accurate plan for both road and bridges and the MTA, that would have the same amount of money and have parity and have the splits between upstate, downstate, Long Island, Hudson Valley, and for that matter, New York City?
The member, the representative from the state Senate could have approved no plan for the MTA, and then we would have had no capital plan for anyone.
I'm sorry, what was that answer, Mr. President?
I'll repeat it. I said the representative from the Senate could have vetoed that MTA plan, then we would have had no plan for the MTA and perhaps no plan for DOT either.
Mr. President, through you, would he continue to yield?
Senator Dilan, continue to yield?
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Dilan, do you realize that if he did veto it and there was no plan, that it could be renegotiated by the majority of this House?
Senator Dilan.
What? Perhaps, I don't know.
Said perhaps, he didn't know.
Would Senator Dilan continue to yield?
Senator
Yes,
Dilan,
sir.
will continue to yield.
Thank you, Senator. Senator, do you think it was fair to do a plan for the MTA region, but yet leave the rest of New York State hanging?
You know, Mr. President, I think that we in the majority conference, or I know especially myself, tried very hard to ensure that the Department of Transportation capital plan was funded. Unfortunately, we did not get the cooperation that we expected from the governor. And as I indicated, if we don't have any plan at all, there will be no spending whatsoever this fiscal year on the plan. And again, I'll repeat, at the urging of the industry, we close it down so we can get some contracts led and employment for many construction jobs throughout the state of New York this year.
Would Senator Dilan continue to yield?
Senator Dilan, will you continue to yield for Senator Libous? We continue to yield for Senator Libous.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator Dilan. Senator, do you realize that this year the MTA 5-year plan was approved, but yet there was only funding for 2 years?
As I indicated, I'm not the representative on the Capital Review Board, although I may have seen the plan, but I didn't have anything to do with that part. It's 2 years also, I believe. 2 years, it's funded for 2 years.
That's right, but it was a 5-year capital plan, Mr. President, funded for 2
Funded
years.
for
But
two.
yet
Funded
the
for
road
two.
and bridge plan is a
2-year
2-year
plan.
pay-as-you-go in this item?
Let me first say, if both parties can't
Mr.
talk
President,
over each other.
Could I ask for a favor before there's a lot of noise in the
Sure,
back of the chamber here?
I'll ask Senator Libous' request for both sides of the aisle to
Thank
keep
you.
it down. I will also ask to allow each senator to speak and try not to speak over each other because the stenographer, for one, may not have a difficult time. Senator Libous.
Senator Dilan, would you, 1 or 2 more questions, please? Would you yield?
Yes, sir, Mr.
All
President.
right.
Senator
Senator,
Libous.
do you realize that upstate drivers pay over half the gas taxes and fees going into the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund? Without the regional splits we talked about, how will the drivers in upstate New York, or the ones that many of us represent and actually some of your colleagues represent, how will they get their fair share of the taxes if there are no regional splits in this budget, if it's going to be left to the discretion of the executive?
You know, the only thing I could indicate about the dedicated bridge and highway trust fund is that it's in trouble. And I think it's been in trouble for many years before we took over the majority. The bridge and highway fund needs to be revamped. It needs to be really looked at in terms of how we can leverage capital funding for it. And for many years, prior to us being in the majority, trying to use the right word here, this fund, there was tons of borrowing to pay for other programs and not used the way it was supposed to be.
Senator Libous.
Senator Dilan, are you aware, sir, that I had a bill on the floor 5 years ago to level the funding in the dedicated highway?
Senator Libous, are you asking Senator Dilan to yield
I'm
for the
asking,
question?
yes, if he would
Senator
yield.
Dilan, will you continue to yield?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry.
Are you aware
Thanks.
that I had a bill on the floor 5 years ago that actually would have correct the deficit in the dedicated highway trust fund?
Well, I believe that I was aware, and if Senator Libous like, we can work on it together to correct the highway and bridge fund.
Senator Libous on the bill. Thank you very much, Senator Dilan.